Now, when you look at artificial light sources, so the things we described, like your smartphone, your laptop, your TV, and your house lights, they don't contain any, or if maybe a small amount of red light that's in them. It's just very high in blue and green and yellows, and it's specifically those spikes in blue that are causing cell damage to our eyes and skin. But we're not getting, as a population anymore, any of the restorative red light in there that's going to counteract any of those negative effects. So what we see is that not only is sleep disrupted from having blue light exposure after dark, during the day, office workers that aren't going outside and are only exposing themselves to blue light during the day in the office are getting things like digital eye strain. So people would have symptoms like dry eyes, watery eyes, tension headaches after using a laptop or a computer for, say, a couple of hours. That's because and those symptoms are because of the damage that the blue light is causing to the cells in the eye. So you start getting really dry, itchy, watery eyes because cells are dying in your eyes or being damaged.
Now, I know you guys are asking, what are you talking about? Well, we're talking about blue light. And I know your next question is, what is blue light? So I'm going to read for you the description of blue light from the website BLUblox.com. Blue light is found both naturally and artificially. When you go outside, blue light is emitted from the sun. Blue light from the sun is essential in regulating your sleep and wake cycles and your body clock. Blue light has also been shown to improve alertness, reaction times, and create a sense of wellness. Blue light from the sun is essential. Blue light from the sun is also accompanied by all the other colors from the light spectrum, making it a balanced and healthy light source. In winter months, when the sun does not come out, we suffer from season affective disorder, which lowers mood and heightens feelings of depression and anxiety. Now, there's also a dark side of blue light, and it goes on to state, we know that the shorter the wavelength of light, the higher the amount of energy it contains. Blue light found at the very beginning of the visible light spectrum, meaning it contains intense amounts of energy. Blue light ranges from 400 to 495 nm. The light found in digital devices and light bulbs contains far more blue compared to other colors in the spectrum, meaning our eyes are receiving too much unbalanced blue light. This blue light penetrates the eye and over the course of a day will cause digital eye strain. Digital eye strain is characterized by dry, itchy eyes, headaches, and fatigue, which we've all had. I get it all the time. Digital eye strain can also progress into macular degeneration over time. In winter, the sun does not come out as much as the summer months, which leads us to more artificial light sources. This contributes to SAD, seasonal affective disorder, by keeping our cortisol levels chronically high, as excessive blue light raises your stress hormones, coupled with lack of sunlight that can lead to stress, anxiety, and depression. I have an amazing conversation with Andy Mant, the CEO of BLUblox, today. I'm excited to share some of the science and literature that he has brought to the table. Guys, this is going to be exciting. I can't wait. So let's get this thing started. Let's get after it.
I'm Andy Mant, and this is Your Superior Self.
The awakened sages call a person wise when all his undertakings are free from anxiety about results. All his selfish desires have been consumed in the fire of knowledge. The wise, ever satisfied, have abandoned all external supports. Their security is unaffected by the results of their action. Even while acting, they really do nothing at all. Free from expectations, from all sense of possession, with mind and body firmly controlled by the self. They do not incur sin by the performance of physical action. They live in freedom, who have gone beyond the dualities of life, competing with no one. They are alike in success and failure, and content with whatever comes to them. They are free, without selfish attachments. Their minds are fixed in knowledge. They perform all work in the spirit of service, and their karma is dissolved. And that excerpt was taken from the Bhagavad Gita. And I don't even know if I'm saying it right. I don't care. It means the song of the Lord. And I love this book, guys. You have to pick this up, especially if you're a creator or you're creative and you're doing things like art, or you're an author, you're writing a book. I found it through Stephen Cope's book, The Great Work of Your Life, and he talks about it pretty extensively. However, it's changed the game for me and how I view my work. Like, I was making attachments to all the wrong things, the people that I was interviewing, the people that I was trying to interview, the downloads that I was receiving, the sponsorships. Like, if I didn't get a certain sponsor, or if I didn't get a certain interviewee, like, I was creating my own suffering in my mind, and it was all about that external stuff, and it wasn't about the podcast anymore. And it's changed the game, and it's overflowing in other areas of my life as well. And I think the biggest lesson for me is whatever you're doing, they call it the Dharma, the work of your life. Like, whatever your passion is, they call it your Dharma. And whatever your Dharma is, you put your entire being into that, and you forget about the rewards. You forget about the successes. You forget about all of that, and you just do your Dharma. That's where you meet your truest self. That's where you meet your true self, not the ego, not the fake self, not the I or the small s, whatever you want to call it. That's the ego, the voices that you hear in your head as far as, you're not good enough, you're not doing it right. That's not who you are. Your true self is that small voice, that very quiet voice that comes up when things aren't right, and it lets you know, it gives you a nudge where to go. That's your true self. But you get to know it more. You find out more about your true self when you put everything into your work, and you forget about the external goals that you have. And when you're done with whatever piece of work that you're doing, you submit it, you publish it, whatever you want to do, and you forget about it. You go on to the next thing. You continue to do your Dharma, and you just put it in, have faith in God. You do it, and you do the work in God's name. And it's been such a blessing for me, because it allows me to really put my true self into these episodes, whether you like it or you're not. It's me, it's Trey, it's who I am, and these lessons are real. I know I listen to a lot of podcasts, and they're edited so professionally, and they're great. And I can't do that just because of the time, with the job and the kids and the wife and everything that's going on in my life. And I do the best that I can, and I love it. I love every part of it. I love being able to speak my mind. I love being able to speak my true self and putting it out there, and forgetting about the fruits of that labor. I'm not entitled to those. I'm entitled to work. I'm entitled to work, not to the fruits of my labor. I don't know if that makes sense. It made sense when I read it, but that's where we're at. And I'll keep you guys updated as I read this book. It is inspirational nonetheless, and I hope that you guys pick it up for yourselves. But let's get back to why we're here. We're here because I have Andy Mant, the CEO of BLUblox, on the show. Great guy, great dude, very schooled in the art of artificial blue light. He is very well read in this area. Well, you got to be, I guess, right? You're the CEO of an artificial blue light glasses company, and you got to know your stuff. You got to know the science that's behind it, and the result that you want to get, and understand why your product is better than everyone else's, which it is. I have a pair of BLUblox glasses myself, and it works. I have noticed the difference in my sleep patterns. I've noticed it definitely blocks out blue light. Like, I remember I was in the kitchen and I couldn't even read the light on the oven, and I was like, I guess I have to buy a new oven light or clock or whatever. And I was like, I didn't even think about that. And then I just happened to lift up my glasses, and yeah, the blue light was totally blocked, which was nuts. But I've also seen the pattern of an increased, increased quality of sleep, like the REM. Like, that's where I'm not a sleep expert. However, I just feel more refreshed. And I guess it's because of the amount of REM sleep that I'm getting, which is the highest quality. And yeah, you got to check them out. BLUblox.com, BLUblox. So a little bit about Andy before we get into it. He is the founder of BLUblox, a company specializing in evidence-based based advanced light filtering eyewear. Andy started BLUblox after becoming dissatisfied with the quality and standards of blue light blocking glasses available, and so set about to design lenses that match the evidence in the academic literature. Andy was born in the UK and moved to Australia in 2011. Not long after, Andy found himself gaining a lot of weight, struggling with chronic fatigue, and constantly lacking energy. Traditional dietary approaches only work to a certain degree, and after stumbling across light and its relation to the body, Andy forged a passion and niche in how light can impact the human biological system. Today, Andy is a leading figure in how light can affect our health and well-being. I'm excited about this conversation. Andy's a great dude. I love our flow, and I love how well read he is. He knows his shit. So without further ado, here is my interview with the man, the light master, Andy Mant. Andy, welcome to the show, buddy.
Thanks, Trey. I really appreciate you having me on.
So what's going on in your world? What's going on today?
Right now, I've been in the gym this morning, having a good workout. I like to do my workouts nice and early. Gets me a good kickstart for the day. It's early here in Australia. It's about 10 a.m. now. So after the gym, I had a bit of food to eat and then got into my day, sort of answering a few emails and sort of tidying up a few bits and pieces with my business.
10 a.m. working out. I love it. Getting after it. What time do you usually get up?
I'm usually up about 5:30 in the morning, and then usually in the gym by about 6:30 a.m.
Nice.
Yeah, I like to do that. I just find I'm a lot more productive and a lot more sort of energetic when I get up early and start my day in that fashion. But the first thing I do when I start my day before any of that is I get outside and watch the sunrise. I find that having specific frequencies of light hit my eyes at that time of the day is enough to mimic having a double espresso in the morning. It really sort of kickstarts me into gear.
Yeah, vitamin D.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you go work out. What other morning rituals do you have?
I also, after the gym, I also meditate for a little bit as well. I find that I'm the type of person that has a million thoughts going through my head at any given time. And if I don't take time, maybe sort of 10, 20 minutes just to sort of distance myself from those thoughts and meditate, I can't be very productive. Whereas when I do meditate, I get a lot of clarity, and it enables me to sort of really drive forward with my goals for the day and be much more productive and get a lot more out of the hours that I put in.
Oh, absolutely. I definitely have to meditate like that. I don't know if you've heard the analogy of the elephant and the monkeys going on back and forth in your head. Like the monkeys are yourself, and the monkey and the elephant. I can't really figure out what the elephant is, but I have to quiet those voices, man. Like especially when I wake up. Like it's so my routine is I'll get up usually around 4:30, and I'll go for a run, either 3 miles or 6 mile run. Get back to the house, meditate. Get ready for work, and that's how I start my day because I need to prime the thinking machine. I need to take care of my mind. I need to make sure it's the best shape that it can possibly be. And the voices, like I don't know, man. Like I've been getting. The meditation. I've been trying different things. So like I'll meditate with my eyes open on a fixed object and try to meditate and concentrate on that object. And I've also tried the Muse app, and I would have to say concentration on the fixed item or the fixed object is so hard for me. I don't know. Have you ever tried that?
I haven't actually, but it's interesting you mention Muse because I have literally just had one arrive yesterday. So that's really looking forward to trying that out. What's your sort of experience with that? Any advice?
So definitely get the subscription if you can. And
I've got it. Yeah.
I actually interviewed the CEO of Muse. She came on the show, and I I'm a big advocate. I love the product. I think that it's great. I usually set it on the desert setting just because one of my favorite books is The Alchemist, and it kind of puts me in that, I guess, environment, that feeling of being in the desert. And I really, really like the guided meditation stuff that she has. I think one of them. Are you getting the Muse 2?
Yes.
All right, so that one's way updated, way more so than mine. I think yours has a ton of more features than, like, it might actually take like pulse readings or something like that, where mine is just simply scanning of the brain waves. I'm excited. You got to let me know how you like that.
I will, yeah, absolutely. And I've been looking at it for a while, and then Black Friday came up, and I thought, you know what, let's get one and give it a go. Typically I thrive on that guided meditation side. It's so important to me. I find that I really struggle when I'm trying to do sort of mindfulness myself. I almost need someone telling me what to do, and I've always been that way, I guess. With my training, I've always needed sort of advice from people on how to train, and I always look for sort of mentors in business as well. So I think, yeah, it's going to be absolutely amazing for me, for sure. And yeah, I'll definitely feedback and let you know how I get on. I'm going to try it. Try it in the next few days.
Yeah, for sure. Have you ever tried to not have any thoughts whatsoever, like without any earbuds or anything like that? Like just close your eyes and like try not to have an actual thought?
I have, and I find it very hard.
Oh man,
very difficult.
It's like 30 seconds, and stuff is like, I'm like, don't have a thought. Oh crap, that's a thought.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. It's like, don't push the button, and people want to push that button. It's a tough one.
But people have said that they've had some crazy spiritual awakenings doing that.
Yeah,
like
I can imagine.
Not pushing out the thoughts and not having a thought. Like, some people can actually do that for extended periods of time. It's insane to even think about.
I guess it's like anything, isn't it, really? It's probably one of those things that I give up on, and probably a little bit too easily. I probably need to try it for every day for a couple of years, and then suddenly it will just fall into place. And look back and be like, God, thank goodness I carried on trying that, because mindfulness and meditation aside, because meditation is a must for everyone in all walks of life, but mindfulness is so important. Like we were just sort of chatting about, all that chatter that's in everyone's head, like as soon as we get up and as soon as we go to bed, we need, and our minds need that time to just be in the present and really just relax and unwind and allow us to just sort of gain some clarity on whatever it is we're doing in our lives at any given moment.
Yeah, I mean, with all that chatter, all those voices, they're not really us. It's the fake self. It's the false self. It's it's noise, and the meditation calms that down and quiets those voices a little bit, and it helps you. It also helps you sit through some something that may be painful or suffering or boring or something like that. It kind of trains you to sit with it, whatever you're going through, and get through it. Mentally tough. And I've been reading this book called Mind Hacking Happiness by Sean Webb. I don't know if you've read that yet.
I haven't, no.
But the Audible book is amazing. Like, he is fantastic. I highly recommend that everyone pick that up. He's actually coming on the show next week. It's actually 2 volumes, because he can't, he'd written, his first book was like 1,500 pages. And they're like, nah, you can't have 1,500 pages as one book. So they split it in 2 volumes. Phenomenal, dude. So it talks about the self, and I won't get into it because making you the focus point of this episode.
Yeah, that's cool. No, I like to talk about it. It's it's really good, and I'm always looking for new books that can sort of awaken me to more things I need to be doing in my life for optimize my own self. So yeah, I'm definitely going to look that one up and tune into that episode for sure.
Absolutely. So when did you change? Like, did you ever change? Like, did you, when growing, because obviously I cannot relate to being in Australia or to the UK, areas where you have lived. But I did reach a point in my life where I turned to meditation for self-betterment purposes and self-growth, and turned my thought process on the whole idea of improving myself. Like, was there something in your life that kind of generated that for you?
Yeah, absolutely. And it was really my business with BLUblox that turned me to it. Before I went into that sort of entrepreneurial route, I was in, a very successful job. I was actually an account manager, which was looking after some big oil and gas and mining companies here in Australia. So it was a job that was finding people employment to go and work on the mines or, go and work offshore. And it was a really good, successful job. I was making a lot of money and helping a lot of people, but it just wasn't fulfilling. And my stress levels were just really, really high. And, eventually I quit that job to obviously start my own company. And then when I started my own company, there was a lot more stress and a lot more chatter in my head. And I was just like, I've got to find a way to really optimize and streamline, I guess, my mental and physical performance, to really make sure that I can, put everything into growing the business, and being on top form all the time. So, I did a bit of research and found lots of different sort of hacks that I could use. Cold showers were one of them in the morning. So I'm always having sort of cold showers or ice baths, but, meditation was one of those things as well. And, I started off just by doing a bit of mindfulness stuff, a bit of guided meditation, practicing a lot of gratitude as well, but also getting involved in manifestation practices as well, just kind of visualizing what my future would be, and doing that sort of every day, really repeated images in my head of like, right, this is where I'm going to live, this is how I'm going to, this is the car I'm going to drive, this is the money that I'm going to have. And really practicing, I guess, the gratitude towards abundance. And, it was just after just a few weeks of doing that, I just noticed some big changes in my life. I was able to go, faster in what I was doing. I wasn't as burnt out. I also found that, after doing the manifestation practices that, more good things started happening in my life as well after just a few weeks. And, to this day, I keep practicing all these different things, the meditation, the manifestations and the mindfulness. And, without them, I'm just feel like, my brain's like a tangled spider's web. And, by doing those practices, everything just becomes clear and focused. And it's one of those things that's difficult to explain until you've tried it. And I always recommend that, people would try that kind of practice, at least for 30 days and just see how positive it can impact your life.
No, I agree 100%. Me personally, like I've always struggled with the idea of like, I can't do something because of like mental limitations or something like that. Like I can never go back to school, or I can never do that because I'm not smart enough. And that's just a self-limiting belief, which obviously the brain being a muscle, like you can make it as strong as you want, right? Like, doing things like this is going to the gym for your brain, and building that muscle. I think we can, what is it? I was reading some research. I think it's like 700 per day. We can, build back our brain cells. It's called like neurogenesis or something like that. But because everybody thought like you were born with, your brain, and either you're smart or you're dumb, and it's not that at all. Like that's just a crazy belief. And I was one of those guys where I was like, going through school, I was like, this isn't something that I like. I was okay. Like I was a BC student, but I always thought that I wasn't the smartest because my brain, right? Like I didn't believe in the idea that I can get smarter. I didn't believe in the idea that if I work harder, read more, meditate or journal or any of those things, that I can get quicker, my mind can work faster. I can remember more, take a supplement of lion's mane to help my memory. Like I just didn't believe in that stuff. And like one of the reasons why I love talking about it on the podcast is to spread that wealth, that knowledge amongst my peers, because like I think a lot of people don't realize that. Like they don't know how beneficial meditation is, how beneficial journaling is, everything that you're doing, like manifesting your visions. That stuff works. Like you as long like gratitude, right? Like if you show gratitude, like it changes your mindset. And if you have visualization techniques and practices, like you can, I don't know. I'm still learning how to do that. I haven't really experienced anything crazy, but I've heard stories. I mean, do you have anything like as far as visualization and bringing things to life through your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just with the growth of the business, in terms of, hiring employees and, taking it from just myself running it to having people work for us, and also the abundance in terms of the money coming into the business as well. When I started doing the abundance meditations, there was a massive increase in sales in my blue light glasses, and that's probably the biggest success story for me. And it's just not putting time frames on these things as well. Like, you could manifest and have something in a week, or you could have it in 5 years. It's just continually doing it. And the way it works, I guess, is that every object in the world, including ourselves and living things, vibrate, because they're all made up of different atoms. And how even like emotions and feelings have a vibration. And they, like, when you actually look at, say, negative thoughts to positive thoughts, both of those thoughts actually vibrate at a very different ratio. And what happens is you have something called the law of attraction, where whatever you're giving out in terms of vibrations, the things around you in the universe are actually attracted to that. So if you're walking around all negative, thinking, oh, I'm going to have a bad day or a bad week or things are bad, then you're going to attract that stuff. And if you're walking around being positive, going, you know what, might have had some bad luck, but it could be worse. I've got, so much love in my life. Things are going to happen. Things are going to be good for me. You'll find that over time, good things will be attracted to you. And you can see it, like, and I saw it in the office environment. There was always people moaning and whinging, and those people were always the ones that got sick or had bad things happening to them, or always came in every day with a story of like, oh, my dog got run over, or I've got this big bill and I can't afford to pay it. And if they just changed their outlook on life and gave out some different vibrations, then they would attract from the universe things that would match that vibration.
Now, what got you into blue light blocking glasses?
Well, what got me into it was I was always, about 8 years ago, I was quite overweight. I just ate a lot of crap, got really fat. And my first foray into sort of self-education was to really fix myself from a dieting perspective. The advice I got from the mainstream was rubbish. So I just went and did my own research, lost a lot of weight. But one thing that didn't improve and had always been an issue for me was my sleep. I never really got good sleep. I struggled getting to sleep, didn't really have many dreams, always getting up in the night and just feeling generally pretty crappy the next day because I was so tired due to lack of sleep. And I started doing some research on how artificial light exposure at the wrong time of day can actually disrupt our sleep. So I went on Amazon, bought some cheap pairs of blue light glasses. They're normally like the sort of yellow or amber lenses. I popped them on, and I remember the first sort of couple of weeks having improved sleep. It still wasn't great, but it was better than it was. So I thought to myself, well, there's definitely something to this here, that the academic literature is clearly saying there's a link. So I delved a little bit further into the literature and found that after dark, there was a specific frequencies of light that you needed to block. So for the sake of people listening, that is, you needed to block all of blue light and most of the green light as well after dark, to induce your sleep hormones to be produced, which would help you sleep better and deeper and longer. So anyway, I so happened to have some friends in an optics lab. So I bought up about 20 of these different glasses that was being sold on Amazon for like $20. Took them down to the lab and just said, oh, can you run this through your lab equipment and tell me what frequencies of light these lenses are blocking? Because they were all designed and marketed to be help improve your sleep. So they tested the glasses, and not a single one of them actually blocked the light that was needed to help you sleep. It was only like part of it. So that was when I had that sort of eureka moment of, wow, if these guys can create me a lens that blocks everything that needs to be blocked to help sleep, then we've created the most optimal light management lens in the world. And they were like, yeah, we can do that for you. So that was how BLUblox was born. They created this like red lens. It's really deep amber. and you wear it as soon as the sun goes down, for about 3-4 hours before bed, maybe even less sometimes. And after just one use, and every single person has fed this back to us, and we sold thousands and thousands of pairs of these now, that after just one night's use, even if they had like insomnia for many years, they were literally out like a light, sleeping all the way through the night, having vivid dreams, dream recall, waking up feeling refreshed. And, word of mouth sort of spread, and we just grew and grew and grew. And, that's where we are today, helping sort of tens of thousands of different people really help their sleep. And, sleep is such an important thing for everyone in life, because if you have a bad night's sleep, you just feel like a zombie the next day. Your productivity drops, you make bad food choices, which damages your health. And when you actually, again, look at some of the research that I've looked into, people that have bad sleep are thousands times more likely to suffer things like cardiovascular disease, like heart disease and diabetes and weight gain, and neurological issues like anxiety and depression. So it's just so important, sleep. And the thing is, it's such an easy thing to basically improve, but not a lot of people can really make the link. And it's not their fault, because there's not really much in the mainstream. That bad sleep is typically 90% of the time associated with exposing your body to artificial light after dark. And just to give people a little bit of context on how that works, is that light actually manages something in our bodies called a circadian rhythm. So people might have heard of it as a body clock, and it's basically a little tiny clock mechanism that's located in the brain. Okay, so it's almost, if you think of your eyes, it's right between the middle of your eyes, in the middle of your brain. And how that clock works is it's run off light. So when we get up in the morning and watch the sunrise, which is what I do, is the light that's in the sun at that time of the day tells the clock in our body to start ticking. And it's that clock throughout the day that governs the secretion and suppression of specific hormones. So exposing yourself to blue light during the day, like from the sun, it keeps your cortisol levels high, which is good during the day because it makes you feel alert and awake. It increases something called dopamine, which is the reward system in the brain that makes you, feel good about yourself. And also serotonin, which is also another happy hormone, and also one that's used later on during the day to help you sleep. Now, what we're doing is, because ancestrally we grew up under the sun, we would have all that blue light during the day, which was totally fine, not an issue. It was balanced spectrums in the sun. We'd feel alert and awake. The sun would set. And then what we would do as ancestors is we'd probably sit around a campfire, which would be, oranges and red lights. There was no blue and green light present. So red light doesn't impact your sleep. It's only the blue. But what we do in our modern world is the sun sets and we start watching telly, or we turn on our house lights, or we open our fridge, which has a light in it. And all those lights, and your smartphone as well, all those lights emit very high frequencies of blue light. Now, what that's doing is that's sending a message to your brain, to your clock mechanism, that it's daytime and you can keep cortisol levels high, and you don't need to produce something called melatonin. Melatonin is the sleep hormone. So melatonin can only be produced in the absence of blue and green light. So when we're switching on lights after dark, we're telling our brain and body that it's just perpetual daytime. So there's no need to unwind. There's no need to drop cortisol levels to release melatonin in sleep. So we have a massive epidemic of sleep deprivation and people not getting a good quality sleep. And then on the flip side, that is then leading to things that I mentioned earlier, like, you see rapid increases of heart disease now, and neurological issues like stress, anxiety and depression. Even teenagers are getting anxiety and depression now because they're exposed to more blue light than ever and are not sleeping. And what the mainstream organizations are doing is they're looking at this and going, oh, it's a diet related issue. You're eating the wrong foods and you're getting heart disease, diabetes or obesity. But when you actually delve into the literature, food is only a small part of the problem with all these diseases. The biggest issue is lack of sleep caused by artificial light exposure after dark.
There's so much I want to unpack in that. When did we realize about the blue and the green lights?
Not until recently, yeah. So the way lighting evolved was sort of until about 25 years ago, we all had lighting that was incandescent. An incandescent light was not very high in the blue and green spectrum. It was higher in the yellow, ambers, and reds. And this lighting wasn't very energy efficient. So what the government did about 25 years ago was that they got rid and phased out of all incandescent lights, which were only very low in blue and green lights, so really not disrupting our sleep too much. And they replaced them with LED lights. Now, the reason they did this was to increase energy efficiency, because the incandescent lights were causing high energy bills, and you'd have to change light bulbs maybe once a month rather than sort of once every couple of years. And when they changed out the incandescent to the LED lights were extremely high in blue and green light and not very high at all, if any, in red and amber lights. So it was really that switch over about 25 years ago that started to see more blue light in our environment, as opposed to the more restorative reds and ambers. But another thing that then happened was the advancement of technology. I think it was, probably only 20 years ago that I got my first smartphone, or not even smartphone, got my first phone. And, that was very much a grey background sort of screen on a Nokia 3210, and really not many colors involved in it at all. And, the advancements of smartphones has meant that there's more, higher blue light containing LEDs now in the back of your phone screen. Laptops have advanced, and you've got these really sort of high HD screens now that emit a lot more blue light. TVs are a lot more vivid in terms of the blue. They've got ultra HD panels now, and they're all made with LEDs or OLED type materials. Car headlights have evolved as well over time, from going to quite a deep amber color to more white. And now that they've stripped out LEDs and put something called xenon in headlights, which is a massive blue light problem. It's literally only blue light. So you probably find now when you're driving at night, the glare from headlights is just horrendous because there's more blue in it. So, it wasn't sort of one thing that changed. It was a multitude of things that have changed probably about 20 to 25 years ago that has really made us lack any kind of darkness. And the earth now is just in perpetual daylight, because we've got the sun during the day, and as soon as that goes down, we've got 24 hours of blue light around us as well. So we're just absolutely destroying our circadian rhythms. Our hormones are all out of whack, being secreted at the wrong times of day, if at all. And we're seeing an epidemic of countless metabolic and neurological diseases that really are diseases of mitochondrial and circadian dysfunction, and nothing really to do with how we metabolize food.
So you're talking about literature. What?
Yes.
Like who wrote that? Like who discovered that these two lights were messing with our rhythm and messing with our sleep?
Yeah, so there's quite a few different academic studies out there. So the literature for me is peer-reviewed studies and clinical tests. The most important study is one in 2002, which was done by Dr. Phelps. And he basically took some people into a sleep clinic, and he exposed them to normal like house lighting, just flick on your lamp or your house lights, and then told them to go to sleep and measured how their sleep was. And then what he did was, over the course of a few days, he gave them all a pair of amber lensed blue light glasses. And what he found was that sleep improved by about 54% from people blocking the frequencies of blue light that they needed to. And also melatonin, which is the sleep hormone, also increased by about 90% by blocking out the frequencies of light that was given out specifically in the blue and green range on these LED lights. And then recently, sort of up until started about 10 years ago, Harvard Health have been massive proponents in telling everyone how bad blue light is, and they've run a lot of studies and peer-reviewed articles themselves, all about how blue light is impacting our health, increasing cancer rates, diabetes, and obesity. So Harvard is very much behind this as well.
So is it the actual blue light that's causing these, or is it the side effects of like the lack of sleep that is causing for the cancer and things like that?
Yeah, so the blue light, it's twofold, Trey, to be honest. So the main cause of these metabolic diseases is really, really bad sleep, which is brought about by blue light. So you wouldn't have bad sleep if you managed your light environment correctly and blocked blue light after dark. And blue light isn't like just the color blue. Like you might switch on your light and it will be white or a yellowy type color. That doesn't mean there's not any blue in it. There's a ton of blue in it when you test it with a spectrometer. But what you've got to also look at as well is that blue light is a damaging frequency of light to the human body. So what it does, and this to caveat this happens when we're outside in the sun as well as artificial light. Blue light is very high energy, and what it does is it damages the cells in our eyes and on our skin, causes something called inflammation and cell damage. Now, what the sun has in it that counteracts that damage is infrared light and red light. So when we're out in the sun and we're getting, the good blue light that's basically making us feel alert and awake, we're getting some cell damage in our skin and cell damage in our eyes. But what we do is that we stay out in that sun, and the sun has red light in it at the same amount as blue light. And what that red light does is it restores and repairs any damage that the blue's causing during the day. Now, when you look at artificial light sources, so the things we described, like your smartphone, your laptop, your TV, and your house lights, they don't contain any, or if maybe a small amount of red light that's in them. It's just very high in blue and green and yellows, and it's specifically those spikes in blue that are causing, cell damage to our eyes and skin. But we're not getting, as a population anymore, any of the restorative red light in there that's going to counteract any of those negative effects. So what we see is that not only is sleep disrupted from having blue light exposure after dark, during the day, office workers that aren't going outside and are only exposing themselves to blue light during the day in the office are getting things like digital eye strain. So people would have symptoms like dry eyes, watery eyes, tension headaches after using a laptop or a computer for, say, a couple of hours. That's because And those symptoms are because of the damage that the blue light is causing to the cells in the eye. So you start getting really dry, itchy, watery eyes because cells are dying in your eyes or being damaged. And then over time, it leads to things like macular degeneration, and people have to start wearing glasses, and they become, long-sighted, so they can't see up close. So they have to wear, spectacles and get a prescription. Nature always has a way of counteracting any of the negative effects that she may put out there. And one of those things is that blue light from the sun is essential to keep us feeling alert and awake. But yes, it causes damage to us as humans, but the sun is very clever and has red light in it, which then restores that damage. So when we're actually inside during the day and only exposed to artificial light, we're bombarding our eyes with blue light, causing the damage, and then getting no restorative red light.
That's insane. Like, I've never really even dug into the research or even thought about the office, sitting in there all day with the blue light, not getting outside. And yeah, I mean, I definitely experienced the dry eye due to the dead cells in my eyes, just because I sit in an office, and there are some days where I don't get out, with the parking garage situation and the drive home. But that's interesting. That's so crazy. Are your glasses, so I'm assuming that you can get prescriptions fit for your BLUblox product, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of the biggest ones we do. And, a lot of people that have poor eyesight have noticed that, until they started wearing our product during the day, because we have different lenses, so we don't expect people to wear red lenses during the day. They're just for after dark. During the day, we've got clear lenses that just filter out sort of maybe 30% of the blue light that's given out artificially. So what that does is that's 30% less damage you're going to have on your eyes. And, people sometimes say, well, why don't I just block all blue light during the day? But that would be really bad, because you need blue light during the day. You just don't need as much as we're getting when we're inside during the day. So our clear lenses, they reduce down blue light by 30%. So you get less eye strain, less itchy, watery eyes. But yeah, a lot of people have said that their eyes have degraded. Once a year, they have to go back and get a new prescription because their eyes are just getting worse. And then they buy and wear our product during the day and the sleep ones after dark. And they're not having to, increase their prescription every year. And in some cases, people have even come back and said, I need some more glasses made in a lower prescription because my eyes are getting better and they're recovering and restoring. And that's been a good success story as well. And, it's another good thing to say as well that I'm not a advocate of wearing sunglasses outside, because I believe that our eyes have evolved under the sun, and it's by wearing sunglasses, what we're doing is we are stopping certain frequencies of light from entering our eyes and basically messing up our circadian clock again, which is only going to disrupt your hormones. And there's a really famous study out there that was done that shows that wearing sunglasses outside during the day actually increases your likelihood of getting skin cancer, because the frequencies of light that are being blocked from going through into your eyes is telling your body in your central clock that it's nighttime. And what happens at nighttime? Well, there's no UV present at nighttime. So your body just relaxes. It doesn't need to protect against the UV. So your body is literally thinks it's nighttime, but the sun is still pumping UV light into your skin. So you're going to get, a lot more damage. So, that's another sort of thing that I always sort of tell people to stay away from as well is sunglasses. I think they are one of the biggest causes of a lot of the, health issues that we see today.
Yeah, I have blue eyes, so like when I go out into the sun, especially in the summer, like I feel like I'm just squinting all day long.
Yeah, I have blue eyes as well, and it's so what happens with eye color is you have something called melanin present in your eyes. Now, melanin is a pigment, so for instance, it's in your skin as well. So people have different melanin levels. So someone that's from, say, a Celtic origin will have very little melanin because they'll be quite white skinned, but someone from Africa who has very dark skin will have a lot of melanin. And what melanin does is it helps absorb UV and filter it out so you don't burn. So someone with Celtic skin that went out in the middle of the sun during the day would burn a lot quicker than someone that was from Africa and went out in the middle of the sun. Now, where I'm going with this is that melanin is actually present in our eyes. And if we've got blue eyes, it means we've got low melanin levels, which means that we can't absorb as much UV light as someone with brown eyes in a safe manner, because people that have brown eyes is a symbol of more melanin. Now, we evolved, you and I, with blue eyes from sort of more Scandinavian and North European roots. From an ancestral point of view, we all come from sort of one mutation that happened, millions or hundreds of thousands of years ago. And at those latitudes that we evolved in, there probably wasn't a lot of sun present, and UV levels are a lot lower the further up towards further away from the equator you go. So it's very good that you've sort of brought that up, because you've got to caveat it that, if your ancestry in terms of your skin and your eyes are for one latitude and you have grown up in a different latitude, you need to be sort of extra cautious of UV light in those areas. So for instance, if you and I went and lived in the middle of the equator, we probably want to be staying out of the sun in high UV times, between 11 and 3 o'clock, seeking the shade, as not to cause any skin damage or any damage to our eyes. But if we're living at the correct latitudes for our ancestry, then it's definitely not an issue. With eye colors, and it's very interesting you say it as well about squinting, and it sort of coincides with what I was saying a little bit earlier about nature always finding a way to counteract any negative effects of our environments. And squinting is actually a response to someone that has blue eyes in making the pupil and retina area a lot less than what it would be if it was wide open. So therefore, we take in less UV than someone with brown eyes that doesn't squint. So you could be sat, outside for an hour, squinting away without your sunglasses on, sat next to your mate who's got brown eyes that isn't squinting, but you would both get the same UV level passing through your eyes because you're squinting and letting less in, and he's not, and letting the same amount in. And there's also an ocular fluid that is also secreted when we're sort of getting overexposed to blue light as well. UV light as well. And in blue eyes, you might find from time to time that you're squinting, but your eyes might be, streaming a little bit or watering a little bit. And that's actually the ocular fluid being produced in your cornea, which actually is an absorber of UV light, much like melanin. So we actually produce that a lot more than people with brown eyes, people like you and I with blue eyes, and that actually helps as a protector against UV light as well. So, I'm glad you brought that up, because a lot of people, don't bring that up, and it's a very important one that, oh yeah, I go outside, but I really squint, I've got blue eyes, I've got low melanin, I can't have as much UV light. But yeah, that's sort of true with context depending on where you're living in the world, but there are mechanisms in place that can help protect you against that, which are the ocular fluid and the squinting.
Well, we're all from Africa originally, right?
Well, so they say, but I've seen evidence recently that it might be Asia.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I think that that came out in Nature maybe last year. You have to have a look. They found basically a skeleton that was older than anything they'd found in Africa. So
really?
Who knows?
It's crazy though, because like I was seeing a study where they were studying the DNA or genomes or whatever from a tribe in the Amazon, and I think they found the same DNA or whatever traces in a tribe in South Africa or something. It's crazy what they're finding nowadays. I mean, it's nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so interesting. But you're very intelligent for a CEO of a eyeglass company, or not eyeglass, but BLUblox or blue lighting blocking product glass, whatever you want to call it. What's your background?
My background is I've got a Bachelor of Science degree, but it wasn't in relation to anything like this, which is, I guess, quantum biology, which I just developed a passion for. So I'm just sort of well read personally myself in a lot of the academic literature that's out there, and I absorb information very well. I've got a sort of very good memory when it comes to facts and evidence. So, it was just really a passion for me, Trey, to be honest. I just sort of self-taught myself and read everything that was out there available on the subject, and just became, very finely tuned in how light impacts, human biology and physiology, and, just making sure that anytime new research comes out that, I'm digesting that, blogging about it, speaking about it, so people don't have to spend the 3 or 4 years like I have been doing researching this stuff. They can have it in, bite-sized portions in blog posts, in podcasts, and things like that. So that's sort of where I came from. And a few people have sort of, I guess, said that as well, that, typically, companies are out there, they start up and they don't have the background to, really talk about the science. And, it's so true with blue light glasses. Every single company out there does not educate on blue light. They're just jumping on a trend that seems to be picking up. And what you see is a real confusing message being given to people. And the most confusing one I see is that there's companies out there that sell these clear glasses that I mentioned earlier, that we have a clear collection that are perfect for during the day because they filter down and don't block blue light. But companies are trying to sell them to people saying these will help your sleep and wear them after dark. And it's just, the evidence isn't, the evidence doesn't back that up. The evidence is very, very clear. And, we want to make sure that we're, educating people first, but then also providing the most optimal products based on the science and education that we're giving, in order to, make sure that, people are making the right choices. We don't want people going on Amazon buying $20, $30 pairs of glasses because they're not going to do anything for their sleep. We want people to find the companies that educate and give them, products that actually do what they say. And it's just nothing worse than, I hate it when I see it. I'm just looking at it going like, I feel so sorry for people that are buying these glasses from, some of these other companies out there that are just getting them shipped in from China. They're blocking nothing. I've tested them. They literally block nothing. And then people are posting on their social media like, oh, I'm blocking blue light, I'm going to sleep. And it's just like, no, you're not. You're not.
Well, how many big companies are in this market?
Quite a lot. So, in terms of big companies, there's, a lot of the optometrists do sort of blue light filtering now in their lenses. So like Specsavers, OPSM, like companies like that, Vision Express, etc. But their lenses don't block blue light. They filter maybe a little bit down, but not as much as the literature is saying it should. And there's other big companies out there as well. I won't sort of mention who, but there's big ones that claim their products are doing one thing when they're actually not, and it's very misleading marketing. But in terms of the big companies, there's probably about 20 or 30 big ones out there that are doing or trying to do this, but not one of them is doing what we're doing in so much as having 3 lenses for different situations, 2 for during the day, depending on how sensitive people are to light, but also after dark having the red lens. What these companies are doing is, just to make a quick sale, they're trying to market clear lenses as being sleep glasses, because when sort of the layman comes in, and maybe people are listening to this podcast and hearing about light for the first time, they'll be like, well, why would I buy red lenses to wear after dark when this company over here is saying their clear lenses do the same thing? This is why it's like so misleading, because the clear lenses can't. If you think about it from a basic sort of color wheel perspective, if you just Google like a color wheel, there's opposite colors, and the opposite color on the wheel blocks the other color opposite it. So if you have blue, you have orange. If you have green, you have red. So what that means is, if you want to block blue and green light, you need a mixture of an amber and a red color in order to filter that light. So it's not physically possible from a physics standpoint to block any blue light using a clear lens. It just isn't possible. It's just the laws of physics state that you can't do it. You can filter down a little bit of the blue light, which is great during the day, but it's not going to help you sleep. So what we always say is, just make sure, when you're doing this and you're looking for blue light glasses, because every single person needs to be wearing these after sunset. I can't stress that enough. And people will just see an improvement literally after the first night. It's just incredible. Just to come to a company that can educate, like BLUblox are. Obviously, if you find another one that's educating and want to go for them, not a problem. But find one that can support the claims. And if you want to go with another company for their blue light glasses, say to them, well, tell me what frequencies of light your lens blocks. And I bet you 99 times out of 100, you won't even get a reply, because they won't know what you're going on about. You just got to wade through the white noise and misinformation that's out there on blue light. And this is why I'm so excited about, you having me on your show, Trey, is that, this isn't a thing that affects maybe 10% of the population. This is an issue that is affecting everyone. And if we don't do something about it soon, we're going to have a massive epidemic of illnesses on our hands that are more so than they are already. But if, people are listening to this going like, oh, I've been dieting for so long trying to lose weight and I can't. Well, maybe it's not just the dieting you need to do. Maybe you need to fix your light environment as well and sort out your light hygiene first by wearing blue light glasses. Maybe you're getting headaches. Maybe you're feeling tired. Maybe you're a new mum or dad that is just tired of night feeding, and wearing these glasses when you're feeding the baby at night is going to help you get back to sleep quicker. Like, every single person is affected by this. And we've got some big athletes that wear our glasses as well, because it helps them sleep and it helps them recover and have more output, whether they're playing soccer, American football, wrestling. We've got like bodybuilders that wear them, like Ben Pakulski, Chris Gethin, people like that are really well known in those circles, because they know by wearing these after dark, they are going to get a better sleep. They're going to have less risk of any of those diseases I've mentioned, and they're going to have a greater energy level the next morning because they're well rested and ready to tackle their gym sessions.
Are they wearing BLUblox or blue light blocking glasses?
They're all wearing BLUblox.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think a lot of people so it's in the early stages of awareness, right? Like, so people are just learning about this now, and I would be at the, even if, I don't know, maybe 6 months ago, I'd be like, what the hell are you talking about? A blue light and green light blocking? Like, I don't know what are you talking about? Like, I would have no idea, like, just because I haven't read up on it yet, or I haven't heard about it yet from anybody. And that's why I was so excited about having you on the podcast, is because, one, to learn a little bit more myself, but to also get the word out to others, especially in the blue collar community, about the dangers of blue light and green light, and messing with our rhythm internally, and getting better sleep and being better, person overall. I mean, not just mentally, but physically as well. Like, how do you approach like people that think that this is all smoke and mirrors?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good question, because people that are probably listening to this, and amazing if people have listened to this all the way through, because you're the lucky ones that are going to help yourselves. Those that have switched off are probably not. But there's obviously skeptics out there, people that think that they're sleeping well when they're actually not. People will be like, well, I sleep fine. I sleep all the way through the night. It's not an issue. It's like dieting, Trey. I always go back to dieting because that's where I started my journey. And people that are following a particular lifestyle of, maybe not eating very well, but they feel like they've got lots of energy, they're feeling okay, it's not an issue, and they're like, well, I don't need to change. Okay, go and speak to that person in 20 years' time when they've got diabetes or heart disease or strokes and, issues like that because of the crap diet that they've been eating. The same's going to be true for light. People might think that they're sleeping well now, but in 20 years' time, when they're listening to, this on repeat again, they would have been like looking back going, you know what? I probably wouldn't have had that heart attack or, been as overweight as I am or depressed as I am or stressed as I am now if I'd followed some of these advices from this show and actually started to take light seriously. And, people might be skeptics behind this, but you can't argue with evidence. Peer-reviewed and clinical studies on human beings have been undertaken in the last 10 years on this subject. They're all readily available in the public domain in Google Scholar, that shows the impact that artificial light exposure after dark is having on us as a population. And, all I say is, even if you haven't got any issues or feel like you've got any issues sleeping, try the glasses, try the light exposure, minimizing the blue light exposure by wearing these glasses after dark, and just see how better you feel. If you don't feel better, just return the glasses. We have a guarantee policy of 30 days, so just return them back. We ship for free all over the world. It's very easy to get them back to us from anywhere. So, what have you got to lose? Give it a go, and you'll just, 100% of the time feel amazing. Like, it's amazing how many testimonials we get from people. There's, hundreds of reviews on our website that you can see in a carousel from people that have jumped on our websites and been like, you've cleared my insomnia, my eyesight's better, I've got more energy, I've got more performance, I'm feeling happier, my anxiety is gone, I'm not tired getting up in the night now feeding my baby and things like that. It's just amazing to see. And you can, almost look at those reviews and find one that will match anybody's given situation. And, if you've been, yourself listening, people that are listening to this, maybe battling with weight issues, battling with stress, depression, headaches, migraine, anxiety, maybe you've got low energy, things like that. These are all symptoms of a disrupted circadian rhythm, which is brought about through blue light exposure after dark and poor quality sleep. So people just need to give it a go, and you'll notice the difference after just giving it a go.
You just sound so passionate about it, right? Like,
yeah.
Is it a CEO passionate about his business, or is this a person who's passionate about helping others?
I think it's both. I'm passionate about helping others. This is why we also have a buy one, gift one campaign, where anyone that buys a pair of our blue light glasses, we gift a pair of reading glasses to a not-for-profit called Restoring Vision, which then donate reading glasses to people in the developing world that need them for working in factories and things like that, or little kids going to school that need to see the books they're reading. So, my passion has always been to help others. And I think that, another reason why I'm so passionate is that, there's so much misinformation out there on blue light and people trying to just take people's money that has sort of wound me up to the point where I'm just like, right, I'm going to create an amazing product. I'm going to really educate about it and really help people. And, that's why I never sort of do that sort of sales push on any of these shows. I just want to provide the facts. Mm-hmm. If people want to come and buy from our company and support our mission and goals and help their health and sleep, that's amazing. I always say, if I help just one person by coming on one of these shows, that's my mission done, because that one person will be helped and he or she will go and speak to someone else and help them and spread the word that way. And eventually in, 5 or 10 years time, the whole world will wake up to the dangers that we're living in at the moment, which is changing our light environment, that we've grown it into, over the, let's just say, for argument's sake, a million years that humans have been on the planet. I don't know the exact number, where, for, a million of those years we've been, under the sun. And then for the last sort of 0.0000001% of our ancestry, we've been under this intense artificial light. And then it's at that same time that we've seen these chronic sleep issues and diseases arise. So I just think that I want to give people the facts. I never want to fall in the camp that light is the only issue. I believe that light, temperature, dieting, exercise, and well-being are the sort of cornerstones and pillars of good health. I think they're all as important as one another. But what we need to do is we need to just educate people that dieting alone isn't going to make you healthy. You need the exercise, you need the blue light management, you need cold thermogenesis and temperature fluctuations as well, which is a whole different conversation. And there's loads of different factors that make up the perfect lifestyle, and you only have to look at things like the blue zones, which are areas where communities have a lot of people that live over the age of 100. And people try and dissect that by saying, yeah, they all eat, they're all eating different diets, but they're all eating whole foods. But people aren't looking into the fact that they're living in remote communities. They're not exposed to a lot of artificial light. They have a lot of family around them. They have outdoor jobs where they're under the sun most of the day. They're not working indoors in an office. They're exercising because they're in annual jobs. So, it's a whole lifestyle thing. We can take a lot from those blue zones and sort of Mediterranean type lifestyles and just start implementing more and more of these hacks into our lives to just really generally make us feel a lot, better, healthier and more optimal and I guess more superior.
I love that. Yeah. No, I think the blue zones, right? Like, they weren't really introduced to the agricultural revolution. They basically are hunter and gatherers. They're basically, the living with the family members. That's huge for emotional support and it's just crazy. I mean, they're living past 100, just living the way that we're supposed to be living, right? Like, I mean, they're not eating processed food. They're eating, wild game. They're eating plants that grow from the earth that isn't processed, that isn't, pesticides haven't been touched, haven't been used on them, chemicals, chlorine, anything like that. They're drinking pure water. It's insane. I mean, they're living the way that we should be living.
And they're living disease free as well.
Absolutely.
They're still outside working at, 100 years old as well. And, this is why it annoys me when you got these diets and different tribes that are, or tribes, not actual tribes, communities of people in the Western world that are like, right, we've got to only eat meat, or we're vegans, we can only eat vegetables. And it's just like, no, we just need to eat whole food. We're omnivorous creatures that just need to eat whole natural food. And when you look at the blue zones, that's backed up exactly how you said. They're not worried about counting their macronutrients. If they slaughter a lamb, they'll eat the lamb. If there's nothing around, they'll eat a sweet potato, or they'll eat rice, or, they'll eat other naturally occurring things. When you look at the blue zones, a lot of them eat a lot of fish. But on top of that, they're not just all eating the same things. Some are eating 90% carbohydrates. Others are eating like 80% fat. Like, there's no right or wrong diet for people. It's just eat whole food. And another thing that I typically talk about as well is seasonality of eating. I think that's very important because light, we ultimately eat light because light is what grows our food. And whether it's the light that's basically shone on, the meat that you're eating, the cow that's eating the grass that you're eating has been utilizing sunlight to grow. So, it's very important to only eat food, in my opinion, that is given to you in your local area in a seasonal manner, because, we wouldn't be eating, a watermelon in the middle of winter in, northern Canada, for instance. It just wouldn't happen. Yet we're doing that now. So, this is an area that I'm starting to look at a little bit more, that, it could be mismatching our diet for the season of our environment. And, once I've done a little bit more research on that, I definitely have to come on and talk to you a little bit more about that as well. But there's evidence out there that suggests that, eating the wrong food at the wrong time in the area you live can also disrupt metabolic pathways within our bodies and disrupt hormone secretion, because light is ultimately governing what we eat and how our body processes things at specific times of the year as well. So it's definitely a good new area to look into.
Thought about that, like the actual light that is going into fruits and vegetables. Like I never even thought about that. Like, you know, the seasonal thing I have heard of, like you definitely want to eat fruit in season. You don't want to eat out of season, because, you know, that's when they start coming to you like the size, you know, apples are coming to you the size of freaking softballs. And it's like, you know, what do you think about the chemicals and the alteration of that apple that they have conducted? And that, I mean, that's why you're getting it, right? They're spraying it with chemicals so that wherever they ship it from overseas or wherever across country, I mean, it's coming to you in the wintertime because you can't grow it, right? Like you can't grow it in frozen ground, so you got to get it from somewhere. And everything they spray on it to keep it, you know, from fermenting on the truck. I mean, and try to keep it as fresh as possible. I mean, like strawberries is you know, I don't know. You go to Target. I don't know if you have Targets where you're at. I'm pretty sure you probably do.
We do, yeah.
But you look at the strawberries. I mean, you can definitely tell when it's in season and when it's not.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, another good point to note as well is that there's evidence out there that if you grow food under artificial light and then compare it to food that's grown under the sun, the nutrients found in the one that was grown artificially are actually a lot less than the ones that are grown under the sun. So, you know, by buying cheap food that's grown, you know, indoors in factories, we're only going to, you know, probably need to eat a lot more of it in order to get the same amount of nutrients, which obviously is not going to be good, because the more food we eat, the more energy we then need to expend to burn that off. But, you know, it's always very important where you can to buy food that's been grown outside. And, you know, that's why there's been a big revolution in organic food and, you know, free range type food. You know, you only have to look at a chicken and the eggs. You know, look at the eggs that are barn raised compared to the ones that are laid fresh. You know, they're bigger, fuller, you know, because they've been outside and they're living in their natural environment. And, you know, caged chickens, if you go and buy a battery hen that's been raised in a barn and compare it with a free range hen, you know, you'll typically find that the one raised indoors is tougher, more gristly. One outside is much nicer, plump. You know, it's actually got wings rather than just sort of stubs on it. And, you know, that's because they're indoors, outside their natural environment. And, you know, you just need to, if you can afford it. I know not everyone can, but, you know, opt for getting down farmers markets and buying local and looking at seasonality as well.
Absolutely. I mean, you can go and purchase beef cattle that have been, you know, grass fed, and you can buy one. You know, I don't know how much they are, but you can buy a whole cow and eat that for a year. Probably save you some money from going to the supermarket. But also, like, going back to your point about the chickens, like, you can definitely tell. I mean, like the eggs, I think, are like, if they're if they've been, you know, if they've been given like feed that's been altered or produced for the chickens, you can tell by the eggs. The eggs are actually more yellow. I think, they're more yellow, and like you were talking about the meat, like you can definitely tell. Like even deer, right? Like even deer, like if you go out and hunt deer and you bring it back, or elk, and the actual, like, the nutritional value of that meat is so much better than, like, you know, anything that we have, because it's feeding off the natural not atmosphere, but, you know, it's in its own environment, like it's a natural environment. And I don't know. I mean, I wish we could go back to the old days. I wish we could go back to being hunters and gatherers, and instead of having the agricultural revolution that we did have, and I think it's killing us slowly. But you know, that's another episode, brother. How can people connect with you?
Yeah, so the best way is we want people to, you know, drop us some emails and tell us about your light environment. Tell us if you know, how you generally go about your day, and let us help you. Give you some advice on free things to do to sort of tidy up your circadian rhythms, and, you know, even advise you if you wanted the glasses, which ones would be best for their situation. So just through the website, through the contact me page. So it's just BLUblox.com. I'm sure you'll link that in the show notes. And people can follow me on Instagram or Facebook. Just sort of look me up, my name, and I'll happily connect with people. And then generally our business Facebook page and Instagram page is very educational as well. We post a lot of studies and evidence, and in a really easy, digestible manner. So definitely get people to listening to this to swing by the website. So just BLUblox.com, and just drop us a message. And there's some great blogs on there that I write, so sign up to our mailing list if you're on there as well and want to get the blogs that I write. And we'll hopefully all level up and improve our light hygiene together.
What the blogs, what is it, just typically about the business, or is it like everything in relation to Andy?
No, it's just blogs on light. So, for instance, I wrote one on how light impacts mental health, how basically new mums and dads can manage their light environment to help the baby sleep through the night and to improve their sleep, how to manage jet lag when traveling through time zones and you're disrupting your body clock, how to combat night shift work and things like that. So there's loads of different blogs on different subjects that come out, and there's tons on there that I've written that people can jump on and read. And if you sign up to the mailing list, then that just comes out every couple of weeks, a new blog that I've written on a specific subject related to light and how it's impacting us.
I could talk with you all night, man.
Yeah.
When it's all done and over, right? Like, what do you want your legacy to be?
I just want people to understand light and how it impacts us. I think it's a big thing, and I want people to remember me for that. Someone that, put education before profits and wanted to help people with, information that I've spent, years researching, and take it and improve their lives. And, like I said before, even if just one person improves their lives with listening to us today, then that's my job done there. So, I just want people to, I guess, remember me as someone that is passionate about helping and improving the lives of other people.
Love it. He is Andy Mant. He is the CEO of BLUblox, the blue light blocking glasses. Andy, thank you, brother, for coming on the show, man.
No problem, mate. I really appreciate it, and have a good rest of your evening.
I want to say thank you to Andy for joining the show and taking some time to talk to us about artificial blue light. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you for downloading. Please follow me on all social media. Instagram is tdowns80. Twitter at downstrey. You can find me at yourspareyourself.com. Leave me a message. Let me know what's going on with you guys, and I just want to hear your stories. I love contacting the fans, and I love hearing your inspirations, what you guys are going through, and if there's anything I can do to help. All right, guys. Until next time. Next week, stay safe, wash your hands, and social distance yourself from you know what. All right, guys. Later.